Hey guys, we are back with some more Atlanta Thrashers franchise mode, and in this one we are going to start year number 6, but first we have to sign a couple of our prospects, and that would be Pavlich and Grabner, as Grabner is currently up to a 1.5 star. I'm not sure if that's entirely accurate because that is with the D-level scouting, but I wanted to sign him anyway because I knew he at least has that 1 star, and I think that's good enough for the minor leagues, so we're going to sign him to a contract. We're also going to sign Andre Pavlich here, and we're going to give him what he wants, and he will be a goaltender on our AHL squad. Yeah, so it's as I figured. Grabner is only a 1 star still, so we're going to send him down to the AHL. Now let's have a look at our lines. First line, you have, of course, Kovalchuk, Stahl, and Nash. That first line was phenomenal last year. Second line, you have Schaefer, Vasicek, and Oshie. Third line, you have Stefan, McKenzie, and Higgins. And the fourth line, you have Breland, Comrie, and Peter. Now, it's worth noting that Peltonen would normally be in there, but I believe he's actually suspended at the moment. Yes, indeed. So he'll likely get back in there once his suspension is over. On defense, you have Pitkinen and Ludman, Kaberle and Ballard, and then Phillips and Skula. I believe Mazaros is the one who's currently scratched. And then in goal, you have Dubilowitz and Tim Thomas. Power play is Kovalchuk, Stahl, Oshie, Pitkinen, and Kaberle in the first unit. Second unit is Schaefer, Peter, Nash, Vasicek, and Ludman on the second unit. 5-on-3 power play is the exact same. 4-on-3 is Kovalchuk, Stahl, Oshie, and Pitkinen, and then Peter, Nash, Vasicek, and Kaberle. Penalty kill is Higgins, Stahl, Phillips, and Ludman, Oshie, Nash, Pitkinen, and Ballard, Vasicek, McKenzie, Skula, and Kaberle. 5-on-3 you have Stahl, Phillips, and Ludman, and then Higgins, Pitkinen, and Ballard. And then the 4-on-3 is actually slightly different. You have Stahl, Phillips, and Ludman, and then Higgins, Skula, and Ballard instead of Pitkinen there. 4-on-4, Kovalchuk, Stahl, Pitkinen, and Ludman, and then Oshie, Nash, Kaberle, and Ballard. 3-on-3, you have Kovalchuk, Stahl, Pitkinen, Oshie, Nash, and Kaberle. And then the shootout, you have Kovalchuk, Nash, Oshie, Stahl, and Higgins. Extra attackers are Stahl and Kovalchuk. So with that all being done, I believe we can now get into the Year 6 simulation. Let's go through preseason really quick. We'll check on the preseason stats briefly, and then we will get right into the simulation. So stats for the preseason, you have Stahl with 8 points, Kovalchuk with 6, Oshie and Phillips with 4, Nash and Schaefer with 3, McKenzie, Breland, Comrie, and Kaberle with 2, Higgins, Ballard, Pitkinen, Skula, Stefan, and Vasicek with 1, Peter, Mazaros, all these guys down here with none. That is fine with me. Peltonen didn't play at all. I'm presuming that means he's still suspended. That probably, that doesn't take effect until the regular season, so unfortunately Peltonen was not able to get in any kind of conditioning in the preseason, but I guess that's what happens when you're suspended. And in goal, Thomas played 3 games, a .908 save percentage, and Dubilowitz played 4 games, and he had a .943 save percentage, so hopefully coach decides to go with Dubilowitz to start out the season, because he was phenomenal in preseason. Now, I don't know what I want to do with Nurminen. I might just put him on the trade block, see what we could get for him, because he's our 3rd string at this point. And then we also, in the minors, we have not only Pavlich now, who has the 1-star talent, so he's definitely ready for the AHL, but we also have Desjardins and Garnett down there. So if we were to send, Nurminen down, that'd be 4 goaltenders in the AHL, and we don't need 6 goaltenders in our organization to begin with. So I think we can put Nurminen on the trade block and see what we get from him. So after 1 month of simulating, Eric Stahl gets the Player of the Month award for October. And great, Ottawa's still fantastic. 10-1 to start the season are the Ottawa Senators. So, we have a lot of catching up to do, obviously. We're 7-6 to start the season. Not bad, but I'm still very worried about Ottawa if we have to run into them into the playoffs again. Although first we obviously have to make the playoffs, and right now it's a tight race in the East, so we got to focus on just making sure we win games and not focus on the Ottawa Senators too much. Although they are certainly in my head, I will say that much. They are certainly in my head. The development report for October, you have Stahl growing in team player, you have Oshie growing in strength, and you have Thomas growing in passing. So now we're going to simulate through another month, and then we'll check on the player stats, and we'll see where we are as far as league standings, and we'll check out our team stats as well. I'm going to check on the power play and penalty kill, just to make sure those are on track for a good season. And if all that's good, then we should be able to get at least to the trade deadline, I would imagine, in this video. And the development report for November, you have Oshie growing in shooting accuracy and Stefan growing in leadership. So after 2 months of simulating, we are now 17-10, on track for a pretty good season. We're second in the Eastern Conference, so we're definitely looking like a playoff team again. Of course, Ottawa, 21-5. So, I mean, we're not that far behind, honestly. If we go on a tear towards the end of the season, you never know what may happen. And Ottawa could, you never know, they could slip. So, it's still possible that we could catch first. It's unlikely, but we're only 8 points behind Ottawa. But relatively speaking, we are poised for yet another playoff season. So, taking a look at the player stats now, you have Stahl with a 35-point year so far. Looking pretty good. Kovalchuk with 25 points on the season. Nash with 21. Oshie with 18. So in his rookie season, TJ Oshie is getting it done so far. He's now up to a 2.5-star current rating. And I don't think his potential rating has moved at all. It's up at a 3.5 at the moment. But he looks like he is doing pretty well for himself. Peltonen with 10 goals and 17 points. You have 14 points for Higgins and McKenzie, 12 for Peter and Kaberle, 10 for Phillips, 9 for Pikkinen. So Pikkinen's he's off to a slow start, at least compared to what he usually is doing point-wise. Yeah. His grade's all right. His grade's great, actually, at a 73. So he's at the very least doing well defensively. Schaefer with 9 points. Then you have Ballard and Ludman with 6. Breland with 5 points, Comrie with 4, Skula with 4, Mazaros and Vasicek with 3, Stefan with 1 in 10 games. Dabilowitz has played 10 games so far, and Thomas has played 17, so that's interesting. Let's check out the goalie stats. Thomas with a 926 save percentage, and Dabilowitz with a 919. So we look to have a pretty solid goaltending tandem this year. 4 shutouts for Tim Thomas and 2 for Dabilowitz, so we're definitely a good team this year. There's no doubt about that. And let's see who's performing well offensively. You have Stahl, Kovalchuk, Oshie, Pikkinen, Nash, and Peltonen all over a 60 offensive grade. And defensively, you have Phillips with an 82. I'm glad we got him in free agency. He has been solid defensively so far. The 78 for Stahl, the 77 for Kaberle, a 75 for Pikkinen. Yeah, he's simulating well defensively there. And even though he doesn't have too many points, he still, for some reason, has a good offensive grade. So I guess he's helping out offensively, even though he's not getting the points. Skula with a 68 defensive grade, so he's doing his job. 67 for Oshie. So Oshie, he's definitely ready now. There's no sending him back to the AHL. He is a mainstay on the roster, I think, at this point. Peltonen with a 64. Then you have Ludman with a 64, so he's been solid defensively so far this season, and Nash with a 61. So overall, pretty solid. Tim Thomas with a 76 grade, 69 for Dabilowitz, and we still don't have any trade offers for Nerman. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to shop him and see if we get any trade offers. Okay, we have 3. 1 from Detroit, 1 from LA, and 1 from Pittsburgh. From LA, they are giving us a goalie, Mark Dekanich. We don't need a goalie, so I'm going to reject that straight away. So it's either Pittsburgh or Detroit. Detroit's offering a 4th for this year's NHL entry draft, and Pittsburgh is offering a 5th. Well, I don't think there's too much to discuss on this one. We will take Detroit's 4th round pick for this year, and hopefully you can get some playing time over there in Detroit there, Nerman, and complete trade. Now we're going to take a look at the team stats. Goals for per game, we are sitting 7th in the league with 3.3. Goals against per game, we are 3rd. Wow. So we're not only keeping the puck out of the net, we're scoring. So we are definitely one of the better teams in the league now. Power play, we are sitting 17th with a 16.9. And then the penalty kill, we are sitting with a 84.3. Or actually, I think I read that wrong. We are 4th with the penalty kill with an 86.5. So our penalty kill, very, very good now. Yeah, it's kind of hard to read the team stats when there's not when there's not too much separation between all the rows. So actually, I was mistaken before. We have a 16.7 power play. As long as we're scoring goals 5-on-5, and as long as we're keeping the puck out of the net, I can't complain too much. Granted, it would be nice if our coach could somehow get that power play going. So we'll keep an eye on the power play as we simulate, but nonetheless, we are looking very solid so far this year. So I think we can go into January now. So there's our first major injury of the year. We've been very lucky with the injuries so far. Up until this point, of course, Kovalchuk goes down with a major injury. And how long is it for? It is, all right, day-to-day with a strained hip flexor. Again, we've been very lucky with the injuries so far, considering how often they usually happen. Actually, Peltonen's out as well. I didn't get a notification about that. And it looks like we're going to need to call up a forward here because there's, Phillips playing forward at the moment. So who is coming up from Chicago? I think it's going to be either Grabner, Christensen, or Korpikoski. They're all 1.5 star abilities. Christensen's the oldest, so I think he can come up to the NHL. He deserves a chance. And the development report, you have McKenzie with +1 to bravery, Comrie with +1 to professionalism, and Oshie with +1 to checking. So on January 1st, we are 25, 14, and 1. Currently sitting first in the Southeast Division and second in the Eastern Conference. We are 13 points behind Ottawa, so I think we're getting further away from them. It's more and more unlikely that we're going to catch them, but once again, as long as we make the playoffs, that's all I'm really focused on. We'll worry about Ottawa if we have to face them in the playoffs, but for right now, we're going to just focus on ensuring that we make the playoffs here, because it's, as much as I would like to say it's guaranteed, not necessarily. Buffalo could still make a push in the late season. I mean, it's unlikely because they have more losses than wins currently, but still, there's always the possibility that we could also fall off. Maybe we could get an injury to Eric Stahl or something. Hopefully not, but it's a possibility, and I really hope that doesn't happen. And now that I've said it, it's probably more likely to happen, but presuming everything goes right, we should be a playoff team. And checking the player stats once more, you have Stahl with 52 points, Nash with 30, Peltonen with 26. I think Kovalchuk's on the... Yeah, we have to check the injury list for his stats. 34 points in 36 games, not bad. Yeah, I mean, it's about what I expect for everyone. We're not, I don't think, getting as much depth scoring as we were last year. That might be a bit of an issue long term. Goalie stats, you have Tim Thomas with a 924, a 902 for Debilowitz. Tim Thomas has definitely proven to be the better guy so far this year. And Kovalchuk is now back on the active roster, so we're going to get him in there. And who did that scratch? That scratched, I think, Breland or Stefan. All right, so it's unfortunate that Breland scratched. Why is Pikkinen scratched of all people? Is he having a bad season? No, he's not. Coach, get Pikkinen in there, please. Can you? Why? Okay, I can't control this. For some reason, coach is scratching Pikkinen. I don't know why. Hopefully, coach isn't tanking the season now for whatever reason. If he is, he's immediately fired. But I'm going to trust his judgment on this. I don't agree with it, but all I have to say is I hope you know what you're doing, coach. Ooh, that's unfortunate. Chris Higgins is now injured with a fractured fibula for 3 to 4 months. Oh, that's unfortunate. So, first major injury for us this year, and hopefully only injury of that caliber. So we're unfortunately going to have to find someone to replace him for, it looks like, the rest of the year, at least up until midway through the playoffs. So I believe, who's getting in there now? Was that Comrie who was just dressed? Or Breland? I don't know. The lines aren't exactly consistent, but okay, good. Pikkinen's back in there. So coach came to his senses, but it looks like now Phillips is scratched. And as far as I'm aware, he is having a good defensive season. Yes, he is. Very good defensive season. 80. I don't know why. I don't know what coach is thinking these days, but he better hope it doesn't cost him his job. So it looks like Stahl is going off. 75 points now in 50 games. He is an absolute animal in this simulation. My goodness. 89 grade. Are you kidding me? Wow. Stahl's incredible. I mean, yeah, Stahl's the player of the month. That makes sense. He certainly went off this month. And guess who your new league leader in points is? Yeah, Eric Stahl currently leads the league in points. Before it was Yager. I think before this month it was Yager with over a 10-point lead or something like that. And I think Yager slowed down a little bit. And now Stahl just took over. So on February 1st, we are 34, 17, and 2. It looks like we're making the playoffs this year. I wouldn't say we fall out at this point. It would take a tremendous collapse to fall out behind Tampa Bay because they have 54 points. We have 70, 16 points ahead of them. I think we're pretty safe at this point. There's no moves that I really want to make at the moment. I think our team is pretty solid. I mean, obviously, I'm not a fan of all these orange numbers down here because those are generally but I think overall as a team, I don't want to mess with the chemistry that we have going on right now because whatever we have going for us, it's working at the moment. We're nearly double above 500 and we're the second best team in the Eastern Conference. So that's good enough for me. I think we're just going to go through the rest of the season here. 4 days before the trade deadline, you hate to see it. Eric Stahl goes down with a major injury. How long is it for? It is 1 to 2 weeks with a bruised neck. Okay, that's not the worst. I was really worried there for a second that we would have to replace Stahl for the rest of the year with a major injury because that would not be good at all. But luckily, it's only a couple weeks. Okay, actually, I take it back. There is one trade that I want to make, and I think it involves Mr. Keith Ballard because I'm really not a fan of the way he simulates. He's got a 55 defensive grade, 51 offensive grade. He's not getting too many points this year like he did last year. He has 18 points in 63 games. He had 35 points last year. And he takes a boatload of penalties in a league where, I mean, penalties are pretty common in these historical GM modes because as you see by guys like Mazzaro's 50, 47 for Ludman so far, 17 for Skula. Skula's been pretty tame this year, but he only has 29 games played as well. Carbolet only has 8, so he's very disciplined. Phillips has 52, Pickenen has 41, so penalty minutes are pretty common here, but Ballard just takes way too many. 95, he had 111 last year. Yeah, I think he's got to be on his way out here. And the trade we will be making is for Sergey Zubov of the Florida Panthers. Florida is not doing well at all this year. They are 38 and 5, and they have the 36-year-old Sergey Zubov on their roster. He's having a pretty good year with that 63 overall grade, 23 points. He's a minus 23, but then again, he's on the 38 and 5 Florida Panthers. So I figured we can get Sergey Zubov for 1 year, and honestly, that'd be better than having Keith Ballard on the roster any longer because Ballard really has not impressed me at all. So we are going to get Ballard on this deal, and I think this may actually go through, and yes, it probably will. Very likely that they will accept this offer. Now, I wouldn't consider it realistic to get a draft pick on there, considering the position that Florida is in. Because, I mean, if you take a look at their outlook, win now, which is confusing. I guess they were a winner last year. Like, they were probably in the playoffs last... Or actually, you know what? As a matter of fact, we faced them in the playoffs last year, but now they are just nowhere even close. So it wouldn't make sense from their perspective to let go of any draft picks, considering, you know, they're basically last. And they're not to mention they're also getting not the greatest player in Ballard, but he's at least 12 years younger than Zubov. That's where they're getting the value here. So, and he still has a chance to turn it around. He does. It's not going to work out here, clearly. So, offer trade for Sergey Zubov, and we are offering Keith Ballard, and that's it. So they're saying, let's make the deal, and we will indeed finalize this trade. There you go. Sergey Zubov is now a member of your Atlanta Thrashers, and Keith Ballard has made his way to Florida. And as we take a look at Zubov's defensive grade, 65. That is more like it. That is much better than what Ballard had, I believe, at 55. He's also better offensively than Ballard. Of course, he's much older, but once again, we're looking more towards the playoffs now. Every year, we're starting to become regular contenders. Obviously, with Stahl on our roster being a 5-star player, you have Kovalchuk, who's a 4-star, Nash, who's also really good at a 3.5-star. And then you have Peltonen, who's having a pretty good season as well, 45 points in 58 games. The rebuilding Atlanta Thrashers are officially done. This is the contending Atlanta Thrashers. So I felt that is a move that needed to be done. And we will end this one off here. And in the next one, we will get to and hopefully through the playoffs for year number 6. But we will also make any last-minute trades. Obviously, we haven't passed the trade deadline just yet. But nonetheless, that will be about it for this one. And I'll see you guys in the next one.